Welcome to our U.S. briefing show. Today, we're kicking things off with a big healthcare push in Pennsylvania, where the government is rolling out exciting initiatives like tuition help, loan repayment, and apprenticeships to tackle a looming shortage of 20,000 nurses by 2026. It's all about strengthening the healthcare workforce and making sure hospitals stay staffed and ready to serve. Next up, we're diving into Vietnam, where leader To Lam is catching some heat. Critics say his diplomatic style is more reactive than strategic, managing crises instead of shaping Vietnam's future. Plus, we touch on the importance of smart financial planning for parents and why Hong Kong's US dollar peg remains vital for stability. Finally, in the world of international diplomacy, Putin has proposed direct peace talks with Ukraine in Istanbul, aiming to address the root causes of the conflict after 3 years of war. While Western nations push for ceasefires and sanctions, Putin remains open to negotiations without preconditions. Stay tuned for all the latest updates. Please continue to watch for more detailed coverage. The Washington Post highlights the ongoing crisis in Pennsylvania, where the state faces a significant nursing shortage, with 14% of nursing positions unfilled, a number projected to rise to 20,000 by 2026. The Shapiro administration is actively working to combat this issue by promoting strategic investments in nursing education and workforce development, including tuition assistance, loan repayment, and apprenticeship programs. These initiatives aim to strengthen the pipeline of qualified nurses, recognizing their vital role in healthcare. The state's efforts also include financial incentives that have already supported hundreds of healthcare professionals, emphasizing the importance of building sustainable staffing solutions to ensure equitable access to quality healthcare across Pennsylvania. Al Jazeera reports on Russian President Vladimir Putin's proposal for direct peace negotiations with Ukraine in Istanbul, seeking to end the 3-year conflict without preconditions. This offer comes amid international calls for a ceasefire and renewed diplomatic efforts, with Western leaders demanding unconditional truce and threatening sanctions if Russia refuses. Putin's proposal emphasizes addressing the root causes of the war, such as Ukraine's NATO ambitions and territorial disputes, but remains cautious, insisting that negotiations should be based on Russia's terms. The situation remains tense, with Ukraine's leadership cautious about engaging without a ceasefire, and ongoing accusations of ceasefire violations from both sides. The international community watches closely as these diplomatic overtures unfold amid the backdrop of a devastating war that has reshaped global geopolitics. The South China Morning Post features a critical perspective on Vietnam's leadership under General Secretary To Lam, challenging the notion of his pragmatism as superficial. The author argues that Lam's diplomacy is reactive and constrained by internal and external pressures, lacking a bold strategic vision. The article points out that recent diplomatic moves, such as visits to China, Russia, and France, have been more about managing crises than redefining Vietnam's future. It emphasizes that Vietnam's internal issues, disengaged youth, political apathy, and limited domestic reform, undermine its international ambitions. Without genuine internal renewal and strategic clarity, Lam's leadership is portrayed as managing a crisis rather than shaping Vietnam's long-term destiny, raising questions about the sustainability of its current geopolitical posture. The South China Morning Post vividly recounts Stephanie Wang's journey from Hong Kong to Vancouver, where she found a new calling in baking after years of restaurant ownership. Once the owner of Roots, a vegetable-focused eatery in Wan Chai, Wang sought solace in the slower Canadian lifestyle following the pandemic's exhaustion. Inspired by her loyal dog Jack, she moved with her sourdough starter, discovering that Vancouver's climate and culture were perfect for her baking passion. Her bakery, Jack's Spot, emerged organically from her desire to create the pastries she loved but couldn't find elsewhere: crispy croissants, salted caramel canellas, and matcha strawberry madeleines, each crafted with a relaxed, experimental spirit. Wang embraces the imperfections of bread making, turning mistakes into delightful surprises like a spicy brioche filled with sambal and bacon, exemplifying her philosophy of acceptance and joy in everyday life. Her bakery's cozy, sunlit space reflects her newfound happiness, where she shares her love for simple, flavorful baked goods, and her story underscores the serendipity and resilience that brought her to this new chapter. The Australian Broadcasting Corporation provides a tense update on Vladimir Putin's recent proposal for peace talks with Ukraine, a move that signals a potential shift in the ongoing conflict. After nearly 3 years of war, which has resulted in hundreds of thousands of casualties and millions displaced, Putin's call for direct negotiations in Istanbul marks a notable moment. He asserts that the negotiations should be without preconditions, aiming to address the root causes of the conflict and establish a lasting peace. This initiative follows Ukraine's suggestion for a 30-day ceasefire supported by NATO allies, which Russia dismissed, emphasizing that Kyiv was responsible for the stalled negotiations. The international response is mixed. While the US and European leaders demand a ceasefire and threaten sanctions, Russia remains resistant to external pressure, with Putin planning to consult Turkey's President Erdogan. The proposal highlights the complex geopolitical dance, with Putin framing the talks as a path toward long-term stability, yet the world remains cautious as the conflict's future hangs in the balance, underscoring the fragile diplomacy amid ongoing hostilities. CNN reports on Vladimir Putin's bold offer for direct talks with Ukraine, a move that underscores the tense diplomatic landscape surrounding the Ukraine conflict. In a rare televised address, Putin announced his willingness to meet in Istanbul on May 15, emphasizing that the negotiations should be free of preconditions and aimed at eliminating the root causes of the war. This proposal comes amidst mounting international pressure, notably from European leaders and the United States, who are demanding a 30-day ceasefire starting soon or face massive sanctions. Despite the push for peace, Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov signaled Russia's resistance to external pressure, expressing openness to a ceasefire but citing unresolved questions. Putin's intention to speak with Turkish President Erdogan signals ongoing diplomatic efforts, even as the conflict continues to threaten global stability. The story captures the delicate balance of diplomacy, with Putin framing the talks as a serious step toward peace, yet the world remains uncertain about Russia's true intentions amid the ongoing hostilities. Nikkei Asia reports that in a surprising diplomatic move, Russian President Vladimir Putin has proposed direct peace negotiations with Ukraine, set for May 15 in Istanbul. This gesture comes after 3 years of relentless conflict that has resulted in staggering casualties and the severing of many hopes for resolution. Putin emphasizes that the goal of these talks is to address the root causes of the war and establish a long-lasting peace, rather than merely pausing hostilities. Despite the absence of an immediate response from Kyiv, Putin's proposal underscores Russia's stance that negotiations should be unconditional, criticizing Western and Ukrainian political ambitions that, he claims, hinder peace efforts. The Russian leader also highlighted previous ceasefire attempts, including a recent 72-hour truce, which Ukraine allegedly violated, and reiterated Russia's demands that Ukraine drop NATO aspirations and cede control over territories, framing the conflict as a response to Western encroachment and NATO expansion. Putin's remarks also allude to a 2022 draft agreement where Ukraine would remain neutral in exchange for international security guarantees, emphasizing Russia's readiness to negotiate without preconditions and acknowledging international mediators' efforts, including China and the United States. Meanwhile, Nikkei Asia details that after a tense day of negotiations in Geneva, US and Chinese officials are set to resume tariff talks, with President Donald Trump claiming significant progress in resetting trade relations. The negotiations, involving high-level representatives from both nations, focus on de-escalating the escalating tariffs that have severely disrupted global markets and trade, with the US having raised tariffs on Chinese goods to 145% and China retaliating with a 125% levy. Trump's optimistic social media posts about a total reset contrast with cautious expectations from analysts, who believe that substantial breakthroughs remain elusive. The core issues include tariffs, China's tech subsidies, and intellectual property practices, which have long strained US-China relations. Despite the potential for minor tariff reductions to signal goodwill, many experts doubt the talks will produce immediate, sweeping agreements. Meanwhile, in Switzerland, US officials also met with Swiss counterparts to discuss tariffs on Swiss exports, highlighting the broader scope of ongoing trade tensions. The talks reflect a complex web of economic and geopolitical interests, with both sides seeking to stabilize markets and address long-standing disputes amid uncertain prospects for a comprehensive resolution. Thank you for tuning in. The content above showcases the latest briefing reports and analytical synopses, thoughtfully curated by the 6Do team. These insights stem from a wide array of reputable media outlets, think tanks, government sources, and specialized experts worldwide. We encourage you to explore these sources for a comprehensive perspective. Keep in mind that while the content may not always align with the official standpoint of 6Do Brief, it's not meant to be taken as absolute directives for decision-making. Comprising seasoned media professionals, learned scholars, and accomplished scientists, the 6Do team embodies a trailblazing, fully independent media entity. To customize 6Do Brief to meet your professional needs, you have the option to subscribe to a diverse array of briefings on our website, 6dobrief.com. Regardless of your location, you can conveniently receive 6Do Brief via email.